Well, hello again, everyone. I want to welcome you to our daily devotions, and we've titled today's installment, Club Your Complaining. And we'll explain that title in just a moment as we go on. And I'll begin with the story. At a golf outing, a few friends, men were getting together, and they were complaining about their wives. I guess that's what guys do sometimes, right, when they're together. Now, one of the men sneeringly spoke about his home situation by comparing his wife to an angel. Listen to what he said. Oh, my wife is an angel. She's always up in the air, harping about something, and it's so annoying. Okay, listen to that. Now, another golfer friend who remained quiet while the men were murmuring about their spouses politely pulled his friend aside who had the angel wife. Okay, we'll call him the guy with the angel wife. And this is what he said to him. Listen to this. 4 years ago, I lost my wife to cancer, and I would give anything to hear her flying and harping around right now. Now, that widow man's perspective is both sobering and sensible. Often in this life, we don't appreciate something until it's gone, especially as it pertains to relationships. However, it shouldn't always take a catastrophe or a crisis to rattle our cage and to remind us of what matters most, to ultimately clear the cobwebs out of our head, because that's what it's like sometimes, that we don't take inventory enough. We don't count our blessings like we should. See, we need to realize, though, that the origin of complaining doesn't start with a problem. It didn't start with the man's angel wife. It didn't start with those guys and their wives. See, the roots, the dirty roots of complaining go all the way down to hell, and I'll explain. Before sin entered the world, Adam and Eve never complained about anything whatsoever. It truly was paradise, okay? Now, one commentator noted on the conditions of the Garden of Eden, this is what it said. They didn't complain about God putting a tree in the garden that they were forbidden to eat. They didn't complain about not having any clothes on, nor did they complain about the command to only eat vegetables. Well, what does that tell you? Well, the wheels began to fall off their wagon when Adam and Eve were solicited by the devil in the area of their contentment. You might recall, this is some of what the devil said. Is it true that you cannot eat of every tree in the garden? Remember when the devil came towards Adam and Eve and tempted them? Well, it's not about a tree and an apple. Sometimes people get caught up on that. Really, at the heart of the devil's temptation was to try to promote discontentment in their life. He was trying to unseat the contentment that they had in God and in his provisions. And if you're willing to be honest with yourself, the same thing is true. One, because you're a sinner and you have the sinner's nature, okay, just like Adam and Eve and every other human being. And two, because sadly, this is a strategy that has worked time and time again. See, the devil doesn't have any new tricks. He doesn't have any new plays. He shuffles. He's a good play caller in that he shuffles his plays around, but this is one of his main ones, that he wants to get you to be discontent about what God has already provided, maybe what God has already shown you of what's to come. Nevertheless, it worked, and it works in our life sometimes. Thus, the most productive strategy for clubbing, and we're saying clubbing because they were golfing, okay? You know, think of a golf club and taking a healthy swing at a golf ball and driving it. You got to drive complaints out of there, okay? You got to knock them out, okay? You got to club them out of your life. And so we want to develop the spirit of contentment. That's how we club contentment out. This is the lesson that Paul shared with the church at Philippi. Look what it says in Philippians chapter 4, verses 11 through 12. Paul spoke about contentment. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am in to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. You know, Paul was talking about the dire straits that he found himself in. Yes, there were times in his life when he had everything he could ask for. But currently, as he wrote this, this was a time of really great need. And the Philippians understood that as they were going through their own persecution, poverty, and the effects of a famine. All of those circumstances were realities in their life. And this is a great reminder, no matter where you are in your journey with Christ, no matter what circumstances you're facing, you could easily go in and become a person who is given over to complaining. You got to get rid of that. You got to club that out. And the way to do that is not for you to have a good day tomorrow, although we all want to sign up for that. I understand that. We don't even know if we're going to have tomorrow. Tomorrow's not promised to us. And so right now, today, why don't we start today by focusing on contentment? And that will help us not to become some complaining, whining, belly aching, grumbling person. You're going to be very unhappy with your life and with people in your life when you're given over to complaints. You know, like that man who had that great eternal perspective, that understanding that, hey, life is the way it is, and I wish I had my wife here. She's gone right now. I'm not with her. You know, we need to start looking at life in the big picture sense. We need to be thankful. And I always tell people, you might have conflict, and 99% of the things that are done and happen in your family are easily fixable if you are willing to apply the principles of Scripture. Same thing goes with your relationships and your friends. Obviously, there are those things that are of a grievous nature that are going to take a lot of time to heal, if they'll even heal at all, okay? But a majority of the conflicts you have, you could heal with the grace that God puts forth in the Scripture. We understand that. They could be fixed immediately, and that will prevent you from being a big-time complainer. And that goes for the problems in our life as well. A majority of the things that are going on in our life right now, we must realize that we could overcome them with the grace of God. We don't need to become some grumbling, complaining person, whether it's about a person or a problem. Instead, let us be content with that which God has provided and that which God has promised. That's the perspective we need as we club that complaining spirit that's in our life. Let us be content with what God has already given. And by the grace of God, He won't stop giving. God is a generous and benevolent Father. He will provide for us according to His riches in heaven. That much is true. And so let us be people, whether again it's in relationships or our struggles or responsibilities, whatever it might be, let us be trusting the Lord, and let us get rid of that complaining mindset with contentment. We'll see you next time.